Hi, it's October 10th, so it's kind of a little late for this video, but I did read a bunch of books and I do enjoy talking about them, so here we are. So, this is the um, September reads. So, these are all the books that I read in September, and here they are. And these are actually not all the books I read because, well, one was an ebook and one of those I don't have the hard copy on hand with me right now. So let's talk about it. So the first book that I read, well, technically I just completed this book in September. I had been reading it since about mid-August, and it's Paper Towns, and I did not enjoy it. I have had this book since I was maybe 16, I believe. From when The Fault in Our Stars was a thing and the movie had just come out, and yeah, I was obsessed with John Green's writing. So yeah, I bought this back then, but I never got around to reading it until last month. And yeah, at the beginning of this book, I was pretty sure that the main character would be like a murderer. I mean, I know that this is a John Green book, and I don't think the main characters are murderers. But yeah, he was so obsessed with this. I even forgot their names. What's his name? Quentin? Was so obsessed with Margot that I was kind of wondering if he's gonna murder her or something. Yeah, so it was not a lot of fun. I don't even want to talk about it. So yeah, I finished this book. I finished it, I think, on the 1st or the 2nd of September. So I don't even know if it counts, but yeah. So this. But the next book that I read, I really enjoyed, which was The House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. And look at that cover. I I think it was on Goodreads. I read a comment or a review or something that said that I just want to write a book someday that deserves the kind of treatment that this book got in terms of the cover, and I couldn't agree more. Like, writing horror is not my thing, and I don't is not my thing, and I don't think that even if I tried, I could do something this interesting. But I, the cover, it really sets the tone for the book. So this is about three sisters who had been kidnapped when they were children. They'd gone missing actually, and they came back, but they remembered nothing of the incidents. And creepy stuff always happens around them. And so the main character, um, baby Iris, right? The main character is Iris, and she's 17, I believe, in this book. And their oldest sister, Grey, goes missing. So they go looking for her, and they unravel the secrets of what happened to them all those years ago. And it's really spooky, and it's kind of a little bit of like gore, you could say. So if you're not into that, please watch out because yeah. And even though I saw the plot twist coming, like I knew what had happened by the time we got to that part, it was still terrifying to read. So yeah, like, like this book is so atmospheric. Like if there's supposed to be fog in that scene and you're reading it, you don't forget that because I mean, I don't know. I am not making sense, but the way that this book sets the tone makes sense. That's all I'm saying. Okay, and then the third book that I read in September was actually Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. So I'd actually received it as a present for Raksha Bandhan, but I hadn't gotten around to reading it. And like I haven't read this before. And the thing is that sometimes when I get a book, I'm really excited to read it because it's like it's new, it's pretty, it looks interesting, you've heard about it. And then I don't because I've got like this whole TBR set up and there are a bunch of books that I have to finish before I get to it. And by the time I get around to those books, I kind of don't want to read them anymore. And then reading them is a chore while I have other books to read, the whole vicious cycle. So when I was really like, I saw this cover and I wanted to read it then and there, I decided to start it right after I finished House of Hollow. So Fahrenheit 451. It's about like a dystopian society where books are burned. Like they have firemen who actively go and burn books, and they talk about like these stories of old times where firemen used to go and put out fires instead of burning books, and they're like, no, no, that's just a myth. It's sort of like that Doctor Who episode where all the stars are going out and people are like, stars are a myth. Sort of like that. And it's like it's a whole commentary on how people have become like just they're obsessed with being distracted and consuming content without thinking about it or without mindlessly and brainlessly doing stuff instead of reading and thinking is actually what like that sort of metaphor for. And even the fireman, I forgot his name. Hold on. Guy. Even Guy's wife is like she's surrounded by. I believe their living room has TVs on either wall. And they want to get one for the fourth wall, and she's like obsessed with whatever shows are going playing on the TV. And day in day out they do that, and they have to keep listening to music to distract themselves to sleep. And it was like freakishly close to what we are coming to, especially over the last year with the pandemic, and we've all been glued to screens in some form or the other. And yeah, uh, the scary thing about this book is that it was written in 1950s, I believe. I don't remember the exact year, but yeah, it was written so long ago, and it still predicted everything that's like sort of what we're heading towards, and it's terrifying. I mean, it's not as bad as it's in this book, but yeah. Then, actually, not this. Then the next book that I read was Ace of Spades. Um, I don't remember. I forget a lot of stuff, and this is something that started last year after I had COVID. Like I forget stuff too easily now, and it's a little annoying. But yeah, I don't remember the name of the author, but I'll make sure I'll to list it in the description. The next book that I read was Ace of Spades. It was an ebook, and I read it as a part of my like book club, the Bookish Owl book club on Instagram. So we pick a book each month, and this was the book that we were reading this month, and it was a thriller, and like it also is like based on like the deep rooted racism that's there and how systemic it is. And those are all very valid and very good points, and from that perspective it's a pretty good book. But I just don't enjoy thrillers. I kind of want to skip to the end to see what happened, but then that would undo everything that's happening. And also feel like sometimes thrillers are like they give you a lot of big twists, so you don't see those coming. I don't know. Maybe this is like I don't know. It's just me. But yeah, thrillers are just not for me. So I read that, but otherwise it was a good book. It kept me like yeah, it did keep me hooked, but I don't enjoy that anticipation of not knowing. So I have mixed feelings about that one. And then the next book that I read was the Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Um, the thing that I was describing about where you get a book and you want to read it immediately but you don't, and then you keep putting it off, happened with this too. So like last month I was like, I have to read this. So I read the Song of Achilles, and the writing is pretty good, and I really enjoyed it. Like, okay. So I know that most Achilles and Scottish Guardian and I said the only interaction I actually had with Green Authority is to assess and read books. Right? So why did I learn about it? I'm about it. So why am I starting? So that's been right. And then I have this Chelsea. Oh, yeah, so I know someone that was the best book. Spoilers. Spoilers on Song of Achilles. Yeah, so why I didn't know that both that I did. I did not know specific. Spoilers. Spoilers about the Song of Achilles. Yeah, so while I did know that there I did not know the specifics, and this book really like managed to make me sad. And I usually tab books, but I actually annotated this one. There's this one scene where Patroclus is talking about how free he feels with Achilles and how he can talk about everything in the world. It goes something like this and this and this I said to him. And that's just my favorite part in this entire book, you know. It's like, it's a very beautiful. Okay, now I understand why people tab books. Yeah. It goes. I had known contentment before, brief snatches of time in which I pursued solitary pleasure, skipping stones, or dicing, or dreaming. But in truth, it had been less a presence than an absence, a laying aside of the dread. My father was not near, no boys, I was not hungry, no tired, no sick. This feeling was different. I found myself grinning until my cheeks hurt, my scalp prickling till I thought it might lift off my head. My tongue ran away from me, giddy with freedom. This and this and this I said to him. I did not have to fear that I spoke too much. I did not have to worry that I was too slender or too slow. This and this and this. Well, I don't know. This part really got to me. So, yeah. And there are a lot of other parts in this book that I enjoyed, but this is my favorite and lives in my head rent free. This and this and this. This particular statement, the like the freedom and the relinquishing of the fear that you have that the other person's not like they're gonna hear something that they don't like, and then they're gonna decide that they stop liking you. Yeah, I don't want to explain this, but yeah. So this is good. I almost cried. I think that I've just gotten better at not crying at books because I used to cry with almost every single book that I read. So yeah, I feel like Priyanshi from a few months ago would definitely have been crying when she read this. So what's that? And then I also read this, uh, To Kill a Kingdom. So technically, I kind of finished it in the first couple of days of October, but because I started it way back in September, I'm gonna count this as a September read. So yeah, the last book that I read in September was To Kill a Kingdom. So this is uh, I don't know where to start. So this is a book where the protagonists, it's told from like alternative perspective of this prince. His name is Alien. Prince Alien is a human prince of a human place, and Lyra, who is a princess but a siren princess. So she takes the hearts of princes by like she sings to them and she lures them to their death and then she takes their hearts. And Prince Elian is someone who like travels across the waters and he kills sirens. So basically siren and siren hunter, and the siren is turned into a human. Yeah, that's not a spoiler, it's on the cover. So she's turned into a human and she has to kill him. But it's like an enemies to lovers book, and I was actually expecting much more death than there actually was in this book. But then I remembered that this is a YA book, and from that perspective, it is actually pretty good. Like I would give a 14 or 15-year-old this book. So I read all of these books, and then there's one more book that I read that I kind of forgot to tell you. I read it after The Song of Achilles. I read A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Laura Taylor Namey. And it's another YA book, but it's really sweet and really cozy. And it's about this girl who's like a bunch of tragedy happens with her. Like her grandmother passes away, and her best friend goes off, sort of like uh, betrays her. Like she makes a really big life decision without consulting her friend, and then she abruptly leaves. And then her boyfriend also dumps her for no particular reason, and she's very very upset. And her family sends her away to England for like this vacation of sorts, so that she can heal away from all those things and reminders of those things that had happened to her. And yeah, it's really really sweet and really really like when I was younger, I used to never like pick up or read or even watch romances, because I used to think that there's just gonna be like this cliche story of a girl and a guy who find each other and then they'll stop caring about the world. But that's the thing that I really liked about this book, is that she's like, these characters are so incredibly human and they have human lives, and even if and when they find someone they like, their lives don't stop. Which I feel like maybe it's like a cliche from the times, like from when I was a very, very little kid, 4 or 5 years old. Maybe I watched, like, saw a couple of movies where this was the kind of thing that was happening, and maybe that's why I never gave anything like with a romance plot a chance. But I feel like maybe this book is also just really, really special, and it has been a long. I can tell you the exact date that I went out of the house, and it was over a month ago, because technically the pandemic is still going on, and technically I'm still terrified of catching it again, so I don't leave the house. So that book gave me such an intense longing for like normal human interactions and, you know, going out of the house. So I really, really enjoyed it, and it was so heartwarming and so soft and so wonderful and so human. I really loved that book. I've put it way back in my bookshelf because I didn't want to, like, I won't be rereading it immediately, so I put it way back, and also because it was a hardcover and I keep my hardcovers back, so I did not retrieve it for this video. But I really liked that book. I texted so many people about it. I even tagged the author on Instagram, and she was so kind to respond to it. And yeah, it was a really nice book. I really enjoyed reading it. I'm so glad that I got it. It was also a Raksha Bandhan gift. Yeah, so that was all the books that I read in September. These five, and that ebook, and then A Human Girl's Guide. So these are the books that I read in September, and I'm also working on a video which is the like October TBR. So I set a TBR, but I don't always stick to it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, so that's been it. Thanks for watching. Is anyone still watching? I will never know. But yeah, if you're still watching, thank you. See you soon.